Hello everyone, and welcome to the One Night in Karazhan card review. I had meant to do several videos, but since I ran out of time, we're gonna do one giant fucking video, and I'm gonna go in depth as much as I can, but I'm gonna try to make it a little faster than I did with the original video. And we're just gonna do all the cards that we didn't do in the first video, so that way you can be caught up. You know exactly what you're looking for, and you can understand that Karazhan is a very, very interesting card set. I highly recommend just buying the whole damn thing. You might as well. They're new cards. For the most part, they're awesome. They're very fun. They're very flavorful. But we're going to get into pros and cons, and we're going to get into Constructed and Arena. We're going to give scores for everything, so you're going to get fully informed. And I'm just going to talk as much as I can. So here we go, starting with the Druid cards. We already did Enchanted Raven. You know how that is. So we've got a 6-mana, 5/5 Menagerie Warden. And it's pronounced Menagerie, not Menagerie, not Majari, like some of you other motherfuckers seem to be doing. It is 6-mana, 5/5, Battle Cry, choose a friendly beast and summon a copy of it. So this card has the potential to be incredibly broken and incredibly awesome. Strangled Thorn Tiger on 5, copy it on 6. Druid of the Claw on 5, copy it on 6. Even something as simple as an Oasis Snapjaw, copy that on 6. You know, there's a lot of big, good 5-mana, 4-mana beasts that you can play, that you can then copy. You can imagine playing this with Mark of Yasharaj. You know, maybe you play a Mounted Raptor, and you Mark of Yasharaj it, and then you play the Menagerie Warden, and now you've got a 5/4 and a second 5/4, and both of them are going to spawn 1-drops afterwards. Who knows? There is a ton of combos, and I feel like Menagerie Warden is going to make Beast Druid, along with the Enchanted Raven, a thing. Whether it's going to be good or not, who knows? In Constructed, it gets a 10. In Arena, it's going to be less good just because there are less beasts. That being said, it's still a 6-mana 5/5 with the potential to have a huge upside. So you're losing a little bit in stats, but it's not too bad. So if you get lucky enough, and seeing as how it's a Druid-only class card, the chances of you having beasts are pretty high. And so the likelihood of you actually getting Menagerie Warden's Battle Cry off is also pretty high. So in Arena, this card is going to be very, very good, but I'm only going to rate it an 8, just because you're not always going to get the Battle Cry off. Moving on, 6-mana spell for Druid. It is the Moonglade Portal. This is the first of the portals. Well, second of the portals if you count Fireland Portal. Restore 6 health, summon a random 6-cost minion. In Constructed, this is going to be very good, but I don't know how much play it's going to see. Restoring 6 health is a lot of times good, but it's sort of a delay tactic. Because Druid tends to play such big minions, being able to restore 6 health to a minion is very good. Being able to restore 6 health to yourself, I mean, helpful, you know, but not terribly helpful. Might get you another turn. But the fact that you get a random 6-drop out of this is pretty awesome. Because the average stat line for a 6-drop is about 5/5. So you're not really losing anything by playing this card. You're essentially getting to restore 6 health for 1 mana, which is great. You know, Healing Touch restores 8, and that costs 3 mana. So, very good card, very good combo card. You know, maybe you get, you know, there's so many good 6-drop cards that you could get. There's Boulderfist Ogre, there's Sylvanas, there's Cairn. You know, who knows, man? You know, even a Draconid Crusher is pretty good. It's some sort of 6/6. You know, Mysterious Challenger is a 6/6. There's a lot. 6-drops tend to be very good, very well statted. And the likelihood of you losing any tempo by playing this card is relatively low. And getting the 6 health is a very nice bonus. So the thing is, in Constructed, it is going to be competing with Menagerie Warden. There's not a whole lot of 6-drop spots. I think this could find a spot in Cthulhu Druid. I think this could find a spot in Ramp Druid. This could definitely find a spot in Beast Druid. Even just as one of, you know, it's nice to have 6 health come back. So I definitely see this card being very flexible and being able to fit into many deck archetypes and not necessarily needing a deck to be built around it, whereas a Menagerie Warden will need to have a beast deck built around it. It is pushing a new deck archetype, Menagerie Warden, but Moonglade Portal does not require a deck archetype. Therefore, in Constructed, I'm giving it an 8. And with a little asterisk for its flexibility. 8 to 9. In Arena, it's going to be awesome. Restore 6 health, get a 6-drop. Very, very good. It's a rare card, so it's not going to come up quite as much as Menagerie Warden and Enchanted Raven will, but that effect, just any sort of healing in Arena is really big, and in this case, unlike an anti-heal bot, you're not losing any tempo, so hell yeah. Moonglade Portal, awesome card in Arena, gets a 10 in my opinion. Moving on to the Hunter cards. We already did Kindly Grandmother, so we're going to move on to Cloaked Huntress. 3 mana, 3/4, your secrets cost 0. Whoa! Is this going to make Secret Hunter a thing? Is this going to make Yogg and Load Hunter a legitimate fucking thing? Because now you've got all these traps that you can play for free and have a bunch of spells and have Yogg-Saron come out and wipe the board. I don't think it'll make Yogg and Load a thing. Yogg and Load is a thing, but it's not a very good deck. It gets run down way too easily. I run down several Yogg and Load Hunters with my fucking Priest Dragon deck, for God's sakes. So that can tell you it's not very fast. That being said, a Tempo Cloaked Huntress secret deck can be very good because most of the 2-drops that Hunters are playing are relatively weak. Yes, we're getting Kindly Grandmother, so that'll help, but pretty much I'm just playing Huge Toad and King Zealot. Meh. Fiery Bat on 1. Meh. Is it really that good? I don't think so. Those are relatively weak cards. So if I can replace them with Snipes and Freezing Traps and Explosive Traps and the next card coming up, Cat Trick and Dart Traps, and you know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of cool stuff, and they all cost 2 mana. So instead of having 2 drops, you could just have two mana traps all the time. And your Cloaked Huntress will be able to bang, 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 bang. Now, you have to have them in your hand, right? It's like the Kirin Tor Mage. You need to have it in your hand. That being said, you put enough traps in your deck, Cloaked Huntress is going to be awesome. Cloaked Huntress in Constructed is a 10. Absolute 10. It's going to create a new deck archetype. I think it's fantastic. I really love it. In Arena, it's not going to be quite as good because it's harder to get secrets. But it's still a 3 mana, 3/4, so that gets an 8. And the last one is 2 mana Cat Trick. Secret, after your opponent casts a spell, summon a 4/2 Panther with Stealth. I love this card. I think it's great. I think it's one of the best traps out there. It interacts with spells, and what this does is now there's a Hunter trap for pretty much every action you can take. And so when you play a Hunter spell, or a Hunter trap now, one of the things that you could do to play around it, especially if you were like a spell-heavy class, is just cast a bunch of spells. And then you know the trap is never going to trigger because there is nothing there to trigger. You have Dart Trap for your hero power. You have Bear Trap and Explosive Trap for hitting your face. You have Freeze Trap for any attacked minion. You have Snake Trap for any attacked minion. You have Snipe for whenever you play a minion. And now you have Cat Trick for when you cast a spell. There literally is no action that cannot, in theory, trigger a trap. And that's what Cat Trick does. And that's why I think it's very good. So, Cat Trick in Constructed, also a 10. I think it's fabulous. The really, really great part about this card is, after your opponent casts a spell, summon the Panther. After. Meaning if they Flame Strike your board, you still get the Panther. So no matter what they do, you're getting a motherfucking Panther. And that's why I really like the card. If it was when your opponent casts a spell, this would just get eaten by Flame Strike and it would suck. But now it's a good card. So, in Constructed, it's a 10. In Arena, it's not quite as good because there's less spells in Arena. And the ability for your opponent to just continually playing minions and trading and never actually casting any spells is kind of high. I'd say maybe about a third of the time, your opponent is just not going to have spells. And then this secret just sits there. So it only gets a 6 in Arena. Alrighty. Moving on. Mage class cards. We already did Fireland's Portal, so we're going to move on to Medivh's Valet. 2 mana, 2/3, Battle Cry. If you control a secret, deal 3 damage. Whoa. It's like a fucking Frostbolt and a minion for 2 mana. That's like 4 mana worth of shit. What? Mind blown, super value. So I can see a value mage, a grinder mage, a secret mage coming out of Medivh's Valet. And I can see an archetype where there's a lot of different secrets, where Kirin Mage is being played, and Medivh's Valet will fit in perfectly with that. I can see a control style mage building up with Medivh's Valet and ice blocks and counter spells and mirror entities, and then Medivh's Valet is fitting perfectly into that. 2 mana, 2/3s are already pretty good, and being able to deal 3 damage after that is a super bonus. But 2 mana, 2/3 is already good, so even if you don't get the Battle Cry, it's still a good minion. It's still a drop on curve minion if you want it to be. So, in Constructed and in Arena, this is an awesome card. This is a 9 for both of them. Excuse me. 9 for Constructed, 9 for Arena. Moving on, class cards in Paladin. First, we've got a Nightbane Templar, 3 mana, 2/3, but Battle Cry, if you're holding a dragon, summon 2 1/1 whelps. I love this card. I love dragon decks. I love tribal decks. Woo, 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 woo! This is what a Dragon Paladin needed. It was often very slow, and it had a lot of the same components as like Dragon Priest. And so Dragon Warriors tempoed out better than Dragon Priest, and it became the new deck. I still like Dragon Priest. I still play it. I'm going to play it, and I'm going to use all these other cards in it. But Dragon Paladin is now looking like a thing. It looks like I can do this. And this card, coupled with putting 3 bodies on the board, is really important because it gives you a Blessing of Kings target. It gives you a Keeper Uldamon target. It gives you a Seal of Champs target. Whatever you need. Like you'll have the bodies that you need to buff later on. So in Constructed, I give this card an 8. I think it will finally make Dragon Paladin a thing, and I think it's a very good drop. In Arena, it's going to suck because it's very hard to get dragon synergy, despite the fact that there are so many dragons. And so what you're basically, half the time, at least, if not more, you're going to be playing a 3 mana 2/3. That sucks. That is terrible for tempo. That gets eaten alive by most 3-drops and most 4-drops. So in Constructed, it's getting 8. Arena, it's getting a 1 because it's shit. Moving on. Silver Moon Portal. 4 mana spell. Give a minion +2/+2. And then also summon a random 2-cost minion. Why would I play this instead of Blessing of Kings? I don't have a reason. But I don't know. Why would I play this instead of Keeper Uldamon? I wouldn't. So the reason you'd want to play this, though, is to just have more fucking buffs. So if you're playing an aggro buff paladin, if you're playing a spread the board flood paladin, which is actually the kind of deck that I first ever got to rank 10 with. This was back in the day when Murloc Knight came out, and it was actually really good. And I played that with Muster for Battle and shielded mini bots and stuff like that. And so it was a very on curve, very tempo play. It was kind of a precursor to Secret Paladin, and this would have fit really well in that deck. Keeper of Uldamon wasn't a thing at the time, and so I would have liked it in that deck. And a deck that is just looking to get minions on the board and buff them and stay strong and attack and trade and get 2-for-1s and 3-for-1s and to go face and build a really strong board. This is a good card. Because you're getting +2/+2, you're essentially giving charge to a minion, and you're buffing that minion, so he might trade and get a 2-for-1. And you're getting a random 2-cost minion, which is pretty good, and that's another thing you can maybe buff later. So the problem is random 2-cost minions on turn 4, not that good. Probably going to get eaten. So it doesn't really help. I just feel like it's a step down from Blessing of Kings, and I'm not sure it's going to find a spot in a lot of Constructed decks. So I'm going to give it a 5, but simply because I feel like its archetype for use is very narrow. I'm not sure I would ever replace Blessing of Kings for this card. And because Blessing of Kings is evergreen, it's hard to say. It's hard to say. I don't think it has a spot. That being said, in Arena, this card is a common. This card's really good in Arena, right? Because in Arena, it's all about getting minions and making trades and controlling the board and setting up a scenario to where you can just go face with most of your minions and clear his board consistently. This card is going to let you clear the board consistently. It's going to hopefully give you a 2-for-1 off the back of the +2/+2, and then it gives you another minion. So essentially, you might be getting even a 3-for-1. God, that's hard to pass up in Arena. I think that's very good. So in Arena, this card actually gets an 8, but in Constructed, it's getting a 5. All right, moving on. Priest. Oh, God. I want to cry. God. 4 mana, 3/6, Priest of the Feast. Whenever you cast a spell, restore 3 health to your hero. Now, I watched Brian Kibler's video on this, and he seemed very enthusiastic and high on this card. Well, I don't think it's as good as he thinks it is. And far be it for me to disagree with Brian Kibler, who is the man. But there's not that many spells that Priest is going to want to play. You'd have to play a very spell-heavy control deck. And the thing is, you're only getting off 1, maybe 2 spells in a turn, because Priest spells are fucking expensive. Entomb is 6 mana, Holy Nova is 5, Excavated Evil is 5. Yeah, maybe you get a Shadow Word Pain, and maybe you get a Shadow Word Death, which is, 2 or 3 mana. But most cards that are legitimately played in Priest are expensive, and the likelihood of this minion living long enough for you to get off 2, 3, 4 spells to where you really get some good value for this card is pretty low. And the other thing is, too, a lot of times Priest get bursted down. They don't necessarily get chipped away down. So, a lot of times what ends up happening is they take no damage for 4 or 5 turns, and then they get fucking smashed for 10, and then they're dead. And so, being able to heal incrementally is not really as good as it is to being able to heal in one big burst. So, I just don't think this card is that good. I really don't. Yes, being able to cast Holy Nova and healing 5 health to your hero, that's pretty good, but that's kind of the only combo I think that actually really works with Priest of the Feast. Yes, it's statted very well. Yes, it's going to allow you to heal. But honestly, in Constructed, I just don't see it finding a slot. And let's face it, Priest isn't really that good anyway. So Constructed, I'm giving it a 4. However, in Arena, it's a 4 mana 3/6. That's awesome. Hopefully you can trade and get 2-for-1s. You can heal it, maybe getting a 3-for-1. That's really good. And if you do get a spell and you do heal yourself, that's really good too. So in Arena, it's getting an 8. Moving on, 5 mana 3/4 Onyx Bishop. Battle Cry, summon a friendly minion that died this game. Now grammatically, I know some of you are thinking, hey, I'm going to get to choose this minion. Because it says summon a random friendly, not random friendly minion. It just says summon a friendly minion. So I'm gonna get to choose. No fucking way are you gonna get to choose. This is a 3 mana. This is a 3/4 with a resurrect tacked onto it. So 3 mana equals 3/4, and then 2 mana equals the resurrect. Hence, this is why this costs 5 mana. Now, this is actually not a bad tempo play though, because if you bring back a 2-drop or a 3-drop. The likelihood of it being a 2/4, 3/2, 3/5, something like that, is pretty darn good. It's pretty high. So, I really like this card, and I especially like this card in something like a dragon deck, because even if you bring back a 2/6, that's still a big body, Even if you bring back something as simple as like a 1/4, It's there. It's stuff. It's stuff on the board. This card would have been a lot better if Priest still had Velen's Chosen and could then buff small minions. The problem with Priest nowadays is they just don't have buffs. Velen's Chosen was their only buff. And okay, they still have Power Word Shield, but this is the only thing that buffs attack was Velen's Chosen. So not having it is a huge hole in the Priest archetype. Okay, and don't even fucking talk to me about Power Word Tentacles. That bullshit 5 mana card. God, I spit on that card. Lord almighty. As if Purify wasn't bad enough. So, my concern though is that in Constructed, Yes, spreading out is nice, but it's not like your paladin where you have a lot of buffs and having the bodies is good. So even having a 3/4, and let's say you bring back a 3/2, yes, it's 2 bodies. Yes, it's good. Yes, it's card advantage. But, the likelihood of both of those cards getting traded into and killing and getting killed, there goes your card advantage, And now you wasted 5 mana on a 3/4. So in Constructed, I feel like this is a 4. I just don't seeing a lot of play. In Arena, though, it'll be good because you've got a lot of minions, and bringing back a minion and all the things I just said in Constructed being not very good is actually good in Arena. Getting more board presence, being able to heal your minions, and staying on board and snowballing is what an Onyx Bishop is going to allow you to do. In Arena, this is getting an 8. Alrighty. And the last card for Priest. Motherfucking Purify. 2 mana, silence a friendly minion, draw a card. Silence a friendly minion. Why? Why? So I can play Silence Priest? So I can play Eerie Eerie Statue and then silence it and give myself a 7/7 for 2 cards? Yes, it cycles, I get it. But come on, man. Most of the shit in Priest doesn't want to be silenced. In fact, their effects are the reason they're any good. Would I really want to silence my Priest of the Feast? No. Would I want to silence any of my dragons? No. This is bullshit, It's going to force me to play silence cards. And you're talking about a guy who spent a solid 3 weeks trying to make Silence Druid work. And it almost did. It almost did. But this is when, Druid had Keeper of the Grove, and it was still a 2/4, and had all these other silence effects, and I put in fucking Wailing Soul, and, and it still didn't work. It still didn't work. And yeah, I could put in 2 silences and 2 purifies, and 2 Wailing Souls, and, whatever. It's just, there's too many minions that when I drop them, they suck, and then when I silence them, they're pretty good. Even if I use Purify on a fucking Ancient Watcher, I still spent 4 mana to give myself a 4/5. Why don't I just play a Yeti? Okay, yeah, I get it. The Ancient Watcher will have charge on turn 3. And yeah, that's pretty good, but these are combos that are too difficult to pull off. And even when you do pull them off, they're not that good. Purify is garbage. It's a terrible, terrible, terrible card. And the fact that they made this card for Priest at a time when Priest was so weak and was seeing so little play, it just goes to show Blizzard is not paying attention. So this card is making me rage! Rage against the machine! I'm so mad, girl. That's why I'm wearing the shirt, god damn it! Do you see this, Blizzard? Rage! Battle of the Bells! We will not stand for this anymore! Bullshit! You better come out with some fucking Mega Priest cards on the next one, or I'm just gonna be flipping shit! 0 in Constructed, 0 in Arena. Moving on. Lord almighty, getting me mad. Triggering me. Alright, Rogue. Here we go. I love the little Rogue cards. I think the flavor for these cards are awesome. 1 mana, 1/1, Swashbuckler, Battle Cry, add a random class card from your opponent's class to your hand. Remember how I was saying that in order for Ethereal Peddler to work, we were going to need at least 1 more steal from your opponent's class card. We got it. Swashbuckler. Now, do I think this is going to create a whole new steal from your opponent archetype? Not yet. People will try. I will try. You're goddamn right I'm going to try. That being said, I think we're 1 more away. We still need 1 more. We need 1 more. Burgle is not good enough, and it's going to get rotated out soon. Swashbuckler, Burgle, Undercity Huckster, all are very good cards, and make for a very nice 1-2-3 curve. That being said, I need 1 more card. 1 more steal from a dude card. Then would be awesome. So, I do love this card. And the fact that it's a pirate is awesome. I can put it in pirate decks and hopefully buff it. It makes my hero power now have 2 power, right? Because then I can hit with my dagger and trade this guy in and kill a 3/2. get a little bit of value out of it, and I already have the card. So it's instant card advantage. So I like this card even if it's not in a steal your opponent's card deck. It's just a nice card and nice value. Constructed, it's getting an 8. In Arena, this card is fan-fucking-tastic. Being able to get card advantage is huge in Arena. You know, usually that's kind of how you win. You just sort of grind your opponent down and you make good trades, and then you have more cards than they do, and they can't keep up. And then you win. And Swashbuckler gives you that. It gives you a 1-mana, 1/1 tempo play, so you've got a body, and it gives you a card. It gets a 10 in Arena. Moving on, 3-mana, 3/2 Deadly Fork. Death Rattle, add a 3/2 weapon to your hand. When I first started this card, I originally thought it was add a 3/2 weapon to your hand, meaning I could swing with it when it died, which would have been way good, which probably would have made it a 4-mana card. So when I saw it was a 3-mana card, I was like, whoa, this card is great. I'm putting this is a 2 of in every deck. And then I realized that the weapon is added to your hand, and it costs 3 mana to play again. So it actually costs 6 mana to play a Deadly Fork and then a Deadly Fork weapon. Not quite as good. I don't think this is going to see constructed play. I think it's way too slow. If this was the weapon that they needed to nerf Blade Flurry for, they didn't need to. They didn't need to do anything with Blade Flurry. Quite frankly, nerfing that card took away a rogue archetype, which I think sucks. Yeah, it brought back a Miracle Rogue, but I don't know. I like the Blade Flurry. So yeah, I just think this card is too slow to see play in Constructed. I think the body is too weak. I think getting the fork is not that big of a deal. Yeah, it's 3 mana, so maybe you can kind of combo it with something else, but Shadow Strike is still a card, and I'd rather run that than run this stupid piece of shit. So Constructed, it's getting a 3. 1 for each mana cost. However, in Arena, very, very good card. Having a weapon is awesome. Even a 3-mana weapon is awesome. Being able to choose when you want to play it so you can clear the minions, awesome. Getting a nice 3/2 body that hopefully trades into a 3-drop, awesome. Everything about this card for Arena is excellent. So I'd love to have this. I'm going to rate this an 8 in Arena. And Shaman. 4 mana, 3/4, Wicked Witch Doctor. Whenever you cast a spell, summon a random basic totem. Basic totem. Basic totem. Does that mean it's a bitch? Like a basic bitch? Yeah, pretty much. This card sucks. Yes, Shaman has spells. Yes, getting totems is not a bad thing. But why would I want totems when I could play Violet Teacher and get a bunch of 1/1s? I'd rather have those than have totems. Now, the good news is it does combo with Thing from Below, so that's nice. And it does combo with Primal Fusion, and I can see it having some combo potential with Evolve. If you can get a bunch of totems out and then evolve them, now you have a bunch of 2-drops. That's pretty good. And then this becomes a 5-drop. That's pretty good too. So I can actually see this, if Evolve Shaman is going to come back and be a thing, I could see this being a part of Evolve Shaman. That being said, the body is too weak. It's a 3/4 on 4 mana, and then you gotta cast spells, so you're probably not gonna play it till turn 5 at the earliest, maybe turn 6. And the likelihood of it living past the initial turn, very, very low. This is one of the problems with Murloc Knight, is it was a 4 mana 3/4, and then you needed hero power, so you don't play it till turn 6. Yes, you got 3 bodies, but the likelihood of them just killing your Murloc Knight off was kind of high. It happened most of the time. And yeah, you got a Murloc and a 1/1, but so what? You know, you needed to have a buff behind it. So that way you could buff the minions that come out. And it's kind of the same thing here. If you play this in conjunction with Primal Fusion, not bad. Maybe you already have a totem on board, and then you play Primal Fusion and buff the totem, and then that totem has charge, and now you've got another totem that's still around. I don't know. I mean, there's combos there. I just don't think it's a good enough card to make it into constructed play, especially given the current deck archetypes. It's possible this will spawn a very, very totem-centric deck, but I don't even see it fitting in there. I'm giving this a 3 in constructed. In Arena, it's absolute garbage. There's no way you're going to get enough spells to make this effective. The stats are poor. it's a zero in Arena. I mean, just zero, flat out. I would never. Why draft this card? You'd have to be up against other cards that were just terrible, terrible. You know, and quite honestly, I can't think of other cards that Shaman would get. I mean, well, I don't know. It'd have to be pretty garbage cards for me to want to pick this. So zero in Arena. 1 mana, 1/3 weapon, Spirit Claws. Has +2 attack while you have spell damage. I love this card. I think it's awesome. You know, it's 1 durability less than a Light's Justice, but obviously the upside is really, really good. Now, the problem is, though, is you need to have spell damage. How the hell do you get spell damage if you're a shaman? You could have Blood Mage Thalnos. You could have a Kobold Geomancer. These are all turn 2 plays. Or you could just get a spell damage totem. There you go. Easy peasy. So on turn 2, you have a 25% chance to pick up something that's going to allow you to swing for 3 damage. But even if you don't get those things, it's still a ping. It's still a 1 mana attack. Or, excuse me, a 1 attack. That's pretty good for 1 mana. This is not a bad late game card, and it's a really, really good early game card. Can you imagine just having this in conjunction with Tunnel Trog? You know, you play this, you coin out a Tunnel Trog, and you play this. Turn 2, you get a spell damage totem. Wham! Now you're hitting for 4 damage, anything you want, and your Tunnel Trog is probably surviving. This is really, really good for tempo. You know, this will fill in the gaps when you don't get a Tunnel Trog. Right? You put 2 of these and 2 Tunnel Trogs. Now your turn 1 plays are awesome. Now you're tempoing out really hard, and I could easily see this fitting into Aggro Shaman as a 2 of, and potentially pulling out some of the other, I don't know, maybe taking out another 1-drop, maybe replacing Argent Squire. Who knows? Constructed, like I said, I'm giving it an 8. I think it's very good. In Arena, a 1 mana 1/3 is awesome. Light's Justice is a very good card. This is getting an 8. Moving on, Maelstrom Portal. 2 mana spell, deal 1 damage to all enemy minions, summon a random 1-cost minion. 1-cost minions have very low impact on the board, and a lot of times when you play them from hand, you're basically throwing away a card. If you play this on 2 mana, maybe it's good, but how many minions are they going to have on 2 mana? So this is a card that's not going to be played right on 2. This is a card that can be played on 3 or 4 or something like that, where you've already kind of have a board and you just want to clear that board. Yes, it combos very well with spell damage. Like with spell damage, it becomes a Consecrate and summon a 1/1 minion, so that's really good. But again, you have to have spell damage. So is spell damage Shaman going to be a thing? It actually might. It actually might, because there are enough things that have spell damage now that you could kind of fit into a deck, and then it just bursts your opponent down with stuff, right? Spell damage with Lightning Storm is awesome. Spell damage with Lava Burst becomes a Fireball for 3 mana. Spell damage with, even with Stormcrack, deals 5 damage, you know. Spell damage with Lightning Bolt deals 4, you know, so there's a lot of good stuff. There's already a Malagos Shaman. Why can't there just be a spell damage Shaman? Who knows? It might work. It might just be like a burn you fucking down deck, play a bunch of tiny minions, play a bunch of totems, buff your stuff, and burn your opponent. I could see that happening. It's entirely possible. So Maelstrom Portal, I still don't think it's that good, and I honestly don't think it's going to fit into the prevailing deck archetypes. So I'm going to give this in Constructed a tentative 4, but with upside, but with potential. And in Arena, it's awesome. It's AoE. Fuck yeah. You know, just dealing 1 damage to everything. It's pretty good. Getting 1-drop. Pretty good. You know, I might just slap this on turn 2 just to get the 1-drop. And maybe clear my opponent's board a little bit. You know, if you're playing against Paladin and he musters for battle, boom, Maelstrom Portal. See you later. You know, so Shaman kind of needed something to clear a bunch of 1/1s. Like, every other class has some sort of thing where they can clear 1/1s, and now Shaman has it. So I do think that's good, and I think in Arena that's going to be very helpful. And like I said, just getting an extra body is pretty good. So I'm going to rate this a 6 with also upside. And that's it for the Shaman cards. We're moving on to Warlock. And then we're going to do Warrior, and that'll be it for the classes. And we'll hit into the neutrals after this. Malkazar's Imp, I think we already did that, so I'm going to skip it. And Karazhan, 5 mana, Summon a 1/1, a 1/1 candle, 2/2 broom, and a 3/3 teapot. So as far as I know, these are all just vanilla minions. As far as I know, as far as I can see. That being said, if there is some sort of interesting interaction between them, and I have seen a preview of the Silverware Golem adventure, and so it's possible that these things actually have some sort of synergy with each other. If they do, great. If they don't, this is basically a Silverhand Knight with more bodies. And on turn 5, quite frankly, getting a 3/3, a 2/2, and a 1/1 is kind of not that impactful. Yes, in Warlock, there's a lot of like buffs and stuff you can give to them, and you want minion efficiency, and you want to spread the board, and you want to attack, so I can see it having a home, maybe as a one-of in Zoo, but I just kind of think the mana cost is a little too high, and it's a little too slow, and I just don't find it impactful enough to make it worth the mana investment and the spell investment. But who knows? I think I could be wrong. It's one of those cards where I don't think it's very good, but it could easily be very good, right? Like you're gonna have to play it. You're gonna have to play it enough to the point where you're like, hey, guess what? Getting all those bodies was actually quite good. The crazy part is it's 5 mana and it gets you 3 bodies, so maybe it helps discount your Sea Giant enough to where you can play it. Maybe turn 7 you drop this and you have enough minions to put a 2 mana Sea Giant on the board. Who knows? I mean, it's possible. I could see it just having bodies is usually pretty good. So constructed, I'm going to give this a 5. In Arena, this will be great. Getting 3 bodies, awesome. Silverhand Knight's a very good card in Arena. This card is also going to be very good in Arena. Just getting more bodies, Zoo, 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 attack, attack, attack. Can't be bad. Gonna be good. Getting a 7 in Arena. And last for Warlock is 3 mana, 3/3 Silverware Golem. If you discard this minion, summon it. Alright, we're gonna have to go super ideal situation on one hand and most likely scenario on the other. So, super ideal situation. Turn 1, you play Malchezaar's Imp. Turn 2, you play Succubus. Succubus discards this card, and now you have a 1/3, a 4/3, and a 3/3 on turn 2. Boom, mind blown. What the fuck? Second scenario, you play Doomguard, you discard 2 cards. Silverware Golem is discarded as one of those cards. Fist of Duraxis is the other one. 4 random damage, 3/3 and a 5/7 with charge on the board. Boom. Now, whatever drawback the Doomguard had, it's not even there anymore. Right? Scenario number 3. Your opponent has 3 minions on the board. Has 2 minions on the board. You need to get rid of them, and it's turn 6. You only have 1 card in your hand, or 2 cards in your hand. Dark Bargain and Silverware Golem. You play Dark Bargain, you kill both of their cards, and then you get a 3/3. Yeah, you get initiative. Cool. I think it's good. So there's a lot of awesome synergies. There's a lot of awesome scenarios, and this could very well make discard Warlock a thing. Discard Warlock Zoo a thing. I could see it being a thing because of this card. But I think we just need one more of these. One more of these discard and something good happens card. We've got Fist of Duraxis and we have Silverware Golem. It's not quite enough. Not quite enough. So in Constructed, I'm going to give it a 7, but I think in another expansion, it could be a 9. In Arena, this card is going to be basically mediocre. Not poop, but mediocre. It's a 3 mana 3/3 with no upside. And the likelihood of you discarding it because you had a discard card is pretty low because most people don't pick them. And discard cards kind of suck in Arena. So in Arena, this is getting a 3. Excuse me, a 4. A 4. A 3 mana 3/3 is fine. Yes, it trades down with a lot of 3/2s and a lot of 2-drops, but it still works. It's a 3 mana 3/3. It's not that bad. It's okay. Moving on to Warrior. All right. 5 mana 3/4 weapon. Fool's Bane. Unlimited attacks each turn. Can't attack heroes. Okay. I read the first sentence, and I was like, holy shit! This card is incredible! 5 mana. It should be like 7 mana. Can't attack heroes. 5 mana might be too expensive. So this card is really, really good for clearing off a board of somewhat tiny minions. So apparently, Zoo is way more powerful than I think it is. I think Zoo's a very good deck. I do think it's a tier 1 deck. I don't play it that often, but there's a lot of tools to stop Zoo decks now. And yes, I know aggro, Zoo, whatever you want to call it, but this, come on, it's 3 attacks, so it's clearly targeting a Zoo deck. And as a warrior, it actually fits because there's so much armor gain in warrior that a lot of the damage that you would take by using Fool's Bane 4 times, you can just heal back. So a lot of times there's not even a downside to this card. The other thing later on is there's another neutral card that's going to work really good with this card, and we'll explain when we get to it. But I think it's a really solid card. It's very good for control. It's very good for clearing the board. Yeah, I think in Constructed, it's definitely going to find a home. Probably in some sort of control-oriented deck, and I'm going to give it a 7. In Arena, this card is going to be a godsend. This card is ridiculous in Arena. Because on turn 5, the likelihood of you being able to clear 2 to 3 to 4 minions is really high. People spreading out and playing small drops and 2s and 3s and 4s. Even if your opponent tempos 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're trying to tempo out 1, 2, 3, 4, when turn 5 comes down and you play this card, bam, 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 bam. Their board is gone. Their board is wiped. And they're going to have to play a 6-drop after that to counter this card. And then you can spread out and play and keep going. So I think this will enable Arena Warriors to be even better and to become a legitimate 4-spot class. Yeah. So in Arena, this card is getting a 9. Moving on, 5 mana, Ironforge Portal. It's a spell, it's a portal. Gain 4 armor, summon a random 4-cost minion. Here's my problem with this. Armor gain. Awesome. I like getting armor. It's usually pretty good. It doesn't affect the board, though. And what's nice about this is it does affect the board. It does give you a random 4-cost minion. The problem is a lot of 4-cost minions are kind of shitty and have battle cries. And so because you don't get the battle cry because it's a portal, you could summon a Defender of Argus, which is a 2/3. Ugh. You could get a lot of times you're getting like 4/4s. There are 4/3s. Karazhan Mystic is a 4/3. Okay, well, that's not in standard, but you know what I'm saying. The 4-drops vary pretty widely in terms of their effectiveness. And so, getting a random 4-drop is not that good, and is really probably only worth about 3 mana. And so then you're paying 2 mana to get 4 armor, which is not that bad. It's like a Justicar True Heart tap. So, I think this card is fairly costed. I just don't think it's powerful enough to see a lot of play in Constructed. That being said, I'm still going to try it. I could see it fitting in a Cthulhu Warrior and just giving you another minion and giving you a little more armor and, making a deck that basically just tries to get as much armor as you can, and this is just 4 more armor, so, that's pretty good. So in Constructed, I'm going to give it a 5, but probably it's more like a 4. In Arena, this card is going to not be very good. On 5 mana, you really need to play a 2 and a 3-drop. You really need to play a 5-drop, at least a 4-drop. And getting a random 4-drop is not as good as getting a regular 4-drop, because a 4-drop usually will have a battle cry, like I said. And getting the armor does nothing to affect the board. And so this card actually kind of anti-tempos itself. And in Arena, losing tempo is death. So I'm going to give this 3 in Arena. Last warrior card, 3 mana, Protect the King. For each enemy minion, summon a 1/1 pawn with taunt. So it's Unleash the Pawns for warrior. Having 1/1s with taunt sucks way more than having 1/1s with charge. Because charge, you get to direct the trades. With taunt, they get to direct the trades. So this may not even get you a 1-for-1. That sucks. Now, will it protect your face? Yes. Could you combo this with bolster and get a bunch of 3/3s? Yes. And I hope somebody does that. I hope somebody makes the Protect the King bolster deck, because I would love to see that deck. However, to me, I feel like that is a bit of a pipe dream. And this card is probably not going to see a lot of play. In Constructed, I give it a 2. In Arena, it's not bad. It's not bad, because it'll allow you to just kind of stall out for another turn, and hopefully on turn 4 you can play your 4-drop. So this is not a bad 3-drop. Yes, it doesn't get you a lot of tempo, but it does protect your face and allows you to play a bigger minion coming after that. So in Arena, it's going to be okay. It's going to be pretty good. I'm going to give it a 5 in Arena. All right. Epic cards. Arcane Giant, 12 mana, 8/8, costs 1 less for each spell that you've cast this game. How many spells am I actually going to cast before this card becomes worth it? My thinking is getting this card for 6 to 5 mana is worth it. I don't want to play it on 8. An 8 mana 8/8, as we've discussed many times before, is poop. A 7 mana 8/8 is not bad. I wouldn't mind getting that. So I'm going to have to cast at least somewhere between 6 and 7 spells to make this card worth it. How long is it going to take me to cast 6 or 7 spells? Well, if you have a very heavy spell deck and you're playing, Yogg and Load or Yogg Druid, you could easily cast 6 spells, I would say, by turn 8. Maybe even turn 7. I'd be surprised if you get 6 spells by 6 mana. And then you would also need the 6 mana to play it. So guess what? This card's not coming out to turn 6, 7, or 8 anyway. Probably more like turn 7 or turn 8. So where's the edge? The edge really comes in when you're playing this card way late game. So what you need to do is have a spell-based deck that is a control-based deck, and then you can have a huge tempo swing by playing 2 Arcane Giants for 1 mana, 2 mana, whatever. Maybe in a warrior deck, a nice control warrior deck, this can be part of the deck, and you cast a bunch of small spells, shield slams, shield blocks, stuff like that, and then drop this thing for 2 mana, and then charge it and smash the opponent's face for 10. It's another Grommash. So I could see that deck being a thing. I could see that deck being a thing where you just control, play a bunch of large minions, and Arcane Giant, charge, finisher. Could it be a thing? Yeah. You put 2 of these with Grommash and 2 charges in a deck, that's 5 cards that are doing 10 charge damage. I think that could be a thing. I think a Giants control warrior deck could definitely be a thing. So hopefully this does create a new archetype. I could see this fitting in Druid. I could see this fitting in Mage. I could see this fitting in a lot of spell-heavy decks. Like I said, my only problem is, are you going to get cast enough spells early on to make this worth it? So, in Constructed, I'm going to give this a 6 with a caveat that better deck builders could turn this into a very effective card. In Arena, this card is poop. Poop. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. You are almost never going to get enough spells to even get this down to a playable amount of mana, i.e. 10. And then do you really want to play an 8/8 for 10? No. Unless you're playing super late game. So, in Arena, poop. Moving on to the rare cards. Bookworm we definitely already did. Avian Watcher. 5 mana, 3/6. Excuse me. If you control a secret, gain +1/+1 and taunt. If you're playing a secrets deck, this card is awesome. It keeps your face protected. It's a nice strong minion. It has taunt. It's very hard to get through. I could see this, maybe not a priest because they don't have secrets, but Something like that. It has high health, relatively good attack. It'll trade pretty well. This will be very good in Secret Mage. I think it'll be good even in like a Secret Hunter. I could see this being very good in a Paladin deck where you just play a 1-mana Secret and then play Avian Watcher in turn 6. Boom. I got a card. So I can see it fitting in a lot of good of the secret archetypes that seem to be coming out. That being said, it's a really slow card. If you don't get the battle cry off, it sucks. It's a 5-mana 3/6. So upside, downside is really swingy, and you gotta make sure you have secrets in play. And so this is not always going to be a 5-drop. And therein lies the problem. If this is a 5-drop, it's a nice card. It's a really good card. It's very powerful. If this is a 6, 7, or 8-drop, it's shit. Because by the time you get to that level, things will be able to trade into it and just kill it. And probably kill it for free. And so therein lies the problem. It's a shitty top deck. It's not a shitty top deck. It's just, it gets worse and worse and worse as time goes on. It's very much most effective on turn 5 with a secret in play. So I think this is going to see more play in something like a freeze mage or an ice block mage or a secret mage, value mage kind of deck. More so than I would see it in, say, a hunter or a paladin. Paladin's not bad because, like I said, paladin has a lot of buffs. I could see this card becoming a buff card. I could see this card protecting your face, and then you getting down your Mysterious Challenger, and then this could help make Secret Paladin a thing again. So it really just depends on what deck archetype you put it in. I'm going to give it a tentative 7, but it could potentially be really, really good. In Arena, this is going to suck. It's a 5-mana 3/6. It's garbage. The likelihood of you getting a secret is very low, and to actually activate this. So, poop, 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 it's a 2. 6-mana 3/3 Moat Lurker. Battle Cry. Destroy a minion. Death Rattle. Resummon it. So notice it doesn't say enemy minion. It says a minion. So not only could you destroy an enemy minion, you could destroy your own minion. And then resummon it. So in a weird way, it's just like 6 mana, put a 3/3 out, and then when it dies, heal your minion and bring it back. Or, it's a 6 mana, kill a minion, and then if you can somehow silence this off, or return it to your hand, then it's kill a minion for free. So guess what? A lot of people haven't thought of this, but I can actually see this card working really well with decks that return stuff to your hand. So, Youthful Brewmaster, Ancient Brewmaster, Shadow Step, Rogue decks with Zeril Poison Mind could draw it back, right? I could see Master of Disguise stealthing this or concealing this card so it stays alive for one more turn, and then, you know, your opponent doesn't really get that much value out of it. You know, it could essentially just work like a sap for a couple of turns while your opponent just waits to kill this card. Because when your opponent kills it, it gets resummoned on the other side, and unless it has charge, it's asleep. So it still doesn't get to do anything for another turn. You know? So, effectively, you could destroy it, and then when they destroy it, they get their card back, right? And then it needs to have a turn to play. So, that's not bad. It's kind of like a sap. Kinda. Sorta. Because they have to kill it on their turn. So, when the minion gets resummoned, like I said, it's still going to take another turn before that minion can attack. So, yeah, paying 6 mana for a sap is not that good, but I can't believe I'm going to say this. Here's a way you can use Purify. If you have 8 mana, you can destroy a minion and then purify your Moat Lurker, thereby drawing a card and permanently killing their minion and giving yourself a 3/3. Now, is that actually an effective way to remove a minion? No, because priests have Entomb, which is way better. So what I actually think this is going to do is see play in Rogue. And you can actually use this card to replace Assassinate, which really doesn't see play. So this is actually going to give you an Assassinate and a body. And then when you Shadow Step it back, you can just do it again. And so Moat Lurker can also combine with Blade of Cthulhu to make a really nice removal kind of deck. A late game removal-y kind of deck. And not only that, combining this with Shadowcaster is really good, because then you get a 1/1 that destroys a minion, right? So Shadowcaster with Blade of Cthulhu was really good, but it was a combo that you waited until 9 mana to do. Now you can do the same combo here with 6 mana, with a 6 mana card. You know, can you imagine Moat Lurker coming out on turn 6, and then Shadowcaster coming out on turn 7, and then boom, it repeating itself over and over again with Brand. Ooh, so I think this card actually has a lot of potential, especially if you can return it to your hand or silence it. So in Constructed, I'm going to give it a 7. In Arena, it's not bad. I mean, being able to destroy your minion, but the problem is being able to silence it. This card's going to get killed, and they're going to get their minion back, and so you didn't really gain anything that much by playing this card. This card is going to be more like a finisher. So it's going to remove a taunt, and then your guys can go face and you win the game kind of thing. So it's kind of like top decking a Fireball or top decking an Assassinate or something like that. So in Arena, I feel like it would have uses, but I also feel like it's less effective than it would be in Constructed, where you can have ways to silence or return it to your hand. I'm giving it a 5 in Arena. All right, and then let's move on to the neutral common cards. We're almost done, guys. We're almost done. Zubat, 3 mana, 3/3, Battlecry, give a random beast, comma dragon, and Murloc, +1/+1. So what I love about this card is it's encouraging multi-tribal synergy decks. And I hadn't even thought of that before this card came out. So it's already given me good deck ideas, and I'm really looking forward to making Beast Dragon Druid, you know, or Beast Dragon Hunter, or something like that, right? There's something there, or putting a couple of beasts into my dragon deck, or I don't know, making a Murloc deck that has dragons, or making, you know, whatever. It'd be really hard to do all 3, but I can easily see doing 2, and having this card just trigger on one thing is basically a Shattered Sun Cleric with an extra mana. With an extra health, excuse me. That's already pretty good. Having it trigger on 2 things makes it awesome. Because those, like I said, those things will have charge because they've already been on the board. So I think this card will enable new deck archetypes, and I think it could be very good. And if it doesn't trigger on anything, it's still a 3 mana for 3/3. Not that bad. You lose a little bit of tempo, a little bit of stats, but it's not terrible. You know, it's still a body. It's still a thing. You know, there are times where you have to tempo out an Aldar Peacekeeper and there's nothing there. You know, or you tempo it out on something with already 1 attack. So, I mean, there's fringe cases where 3/3 is fine. So in Constructed, I'm going to give it a 7. But like I said, with a caveat that if somebody is able to make a really good Beast Dragon deck, Beast Dragon Murloc deck, hopefully all 3 are in there, you know, this could easily be a 10. In Arena, the likelihood of you getting a beast and a dragon together are really low. The likelihood of you getting any one of them is pretty good. So guess what? Shattered Sun Cleric is a really good card in Arena. This card will essentially be a Shattered Sun Cleric with less effectiveness. It's not always going to go off. So in Arena, I'm going to give it a 5 because the likelihood of it going off is relatively low, and you're basically paying a 3 mana 3/3. Next card is the Menagerie Magician. Guess what? It's another fucking zoo card. Menagerie card. Battle Cry. It's a 5 mana 4/4 Battle Cry. Give a random friendly beast, dragon, and Murloc +2/+2. So again, everything that I said to the Zubat applies to the Menagerie Magician except for one thing. This is a 5 mana 4/4. So the stat loss that you get has to be made up for by its Battle Cry. Whereas Zubat, it wasn't necessarily as important to make sure that the Battle Cry goes off. In this case, the Battle Cry has to go off for this to be a good card. Fortunately, it's coming out on 5 mana, so the likelihood of you having a beast and a dragon is pretty good. It's pretty good. I could actually see this really working in something like a priest deck where you're playing a lot of minions on curve, you're healing them to keep them alive, and the Menagerie Magician comes out and boom, there's the buffs. Remember how we were saying Priest needed buffs? Priest needed attack buffs that they didn't have? Maybe Menagerie Magician and Zubat are the cards that will give the priests the buffs they need for their dragon decks and push that deck into tier 1 status. God, I hope so, because I love the deck. So, like I said, in Constructed, I can see this being very good. I'm giving it a 7. In Arena, again, hard to get those cards. I'm giving this, but because its stats are worse, I'm giving it a 4. Alrighty, moving on. Nether Spite Historian, 2 mana, 1/3, battle cry. If you're holding a dragon, discover a dragon. Now, obviously discovering is better than acquiring a random one. However, this is a 2 mana, 1/3. It's kind of sucky. 1/3s are really good on turn 1. On turn 2? You know, and since, like I said, priests don't have Valence Chosen, this is probably not going to fit into a priest dragon. However, I could see it fitting into Dragon Paladin, and this is another one of those cards that I think is going to make Dragon Paladin a thing. The nice part is it works in conjunction with Dragon Consort. So if you got a Ysera and you discovered a Ysera through this card, when you play Dragon Consort, you can Ysera on turn 7. That's really good. You can Chromagus on turn 6. And if you don't have a Chromagus, this will get you a Chromagus. Maybe it gets you 2 of them. You know, one of the things that makes the Dragons of Death deck, priest deck that I played in a previous video, so effective is being able to play Museum Curator and getting 2 Sylvanuses or getting 2 Cairns. You know, or man, if you can pull it off, 2 Deathwing Dragon Lords. Holy crap. But the nice part about this too is if you're holding a dragon, discover a dragon, so then you can play the dragon that you're holding and still have a dragon to enable dragon synergy. So this allows you to more consistently keep dragon synergy throughout your mana curve and throughout the game. I just wish its stats were better. Why does it have to be a 1/3? Why can't it just be a 2/3? Even a 2/2 I would rather have. Just something with 2 attack. Something that can actually trade with a fucking 2 health minion. I see this card getting eaten, and then then you're not really gaining a lot of card advantage. Yes, it cycles itself because you discover a dragon, but I don't know. I feel like this card could make the cut in dragon decks. It might not. But if it's going to make the cut in any dragon deck, it's probably Paladin. Constructed is getting a 5. In Arena, the likelihood of you being able to set off the Dragon Discover battle cry is very low, so you're playing a 2 mana 1/3. That sucks. This gets a 2. Moving on. Arcane Anomaly, 1 mana, 2/1. Whenever you cast a spell, this minion gains 1 health. So, what's the dream? Arcane Anomaly, coin, play a 1-drop. Now, I actually really like the card Bladed Cultist. It's a 1 mana, 1/2, but combo, give it +1/+1. So that's effectively a zombie chow. I would love to see Arcane Anomaly, coin, Bladed Cultist, and give me a 2/2 and a 2/3 on turn 1. Oh, fuck. The dream. The dream, the dream, the dream. So, I hope that happens. That's my best case scenario for this card. But in all honesty, the likelihood of you being able to play enough spells to buff this to the point to where it doesn't just die to a 1-drop or a 2-drop is pretty low. It's really hard to cast anything more than 2 spells on this card. So, max it's probably going to be a 2/3 or a 2/4. And in all likelihood, it'll just trade 1 for 1. So my guess is this is probably not going to be a very good card, but I could see it having some application in spell-based decks and early removal-based decks. Maybe Rogue, you know? Like I said, with the Bladed Cultist, and then being able to play Backstabs, Eviscerates, Shadow Strikes, things like that. Maybe the Arcane Anomaly stays alive and it keeps gaining health and becomes a better and better card, and then you keep tempoing out very small minions. So I think a very, very fast, very aggro tempo rogue could be something that comes out, and this card could be a part of that deck. So like I said, in Constructed, I'm going to give it a 4 just because I can't really think of a deck archetype I'm going to fit it into, but it's possible that this card will create a deck archetype. In Arena, this card is going to be as good as a 1-mana 2/1. 1-mana 2/1s are kind of poopy because they die to a ping. So it's a 3. Next one, 3-mana 1/3 Pantry Spider. 3-mana Battle Cry, summon a 1/3 spider. So I'm paying 3 mana to get 2 1/3 beasts? Beast synergy? Mark of Yasharaj synergy? I feel like there are uses to this card that I'm just not seeing. I'm just not thinking about. I don't know, because this card seems pretty darn lame, but it was made for reasons. I don't know. And Constructed and in Arena, I think it's just gonna suck. But I feel like I'm missing something. I feel like it actually has potential. I just can't figure it out right now. So it's getting a 2 in Constructed and a 2 in Arena. Moving on. 4-mana 3/2 Arcanosmith. Battlecry, summon a 0/5 minion with taunt. What kind of minion is it? Usually when it summons something with taunt, it has a name. This is just a minion. Is it a shield bearer? Oh. So, yes, you're getting 3/7 in stats. In theory. But anybody who says that doesn't take into account the fact that it's split into 2 creatures, and it's split terribly. Why the fuck would I want a 3/2 and an 0/5? Is it going to protect my face for a while? I mean, I guess. Maybe in Priest I can, Divine Spirit this thing and give it 10 fucking health, but it's still an 0/5. I mean, and it's 4 mana. A 3/2 is worth 2 mana. So they're saying that getting an 0/5 with taunt is worth 2 mana. No, it's not. It's worth 1. It's called Shield Bearer. So this card is overcosted. Ugh. Again, this is another one of those cards where, they made it, and I think there's something there. I just don't know what it is. I can't think of it right now. It's 5 in the fucking morning. Cut me a break. So, I'm giving this a 1 in Constructed and also a 1 in Arena, with the caveat that there's probably synergy that I'm just not seeing. But why in the world do I want to play a 3/2 and a 1/5 on turn 4? Why not just play Infested Tauren? That's better. That's a 2/3 with taunt that gives me a 2/2. That's better. That's better stats. That's a 4/5. I'd rather have a 4/5 than a 3/7. Lord almighty. A 3/7 that deals no damage until it hits a 3/2. Lord. I mean, yeah. I'm not going to waste any more time on this stupid card. Alright, and last but not least, the Violet Illusionist. 3 mana, 4/3. During your turn, your hero is immune. This card blows my mind, and I'll tell you why. 1. Warlock taps, deal no damage. 2. Any card that damages the self in Warlock gets no damage. Pit Lord now becomes playable on turn 4 if this thing lives. Flame Imp deals no damage to you. Whoa! I mean, think of how many more life taps you can get as long as this card stays alive. If you can just protect this card for even 1 turn, it's basically like healing yourself upwards of 2 to 3 to 5 damage. Maybe Pit Lord becomes a thing because of this card. Whoa, what the? Pit Lord? Nobody plays Pit Lord. The card, everybody knows that card's drawback is too bad, but now maybe it's not a drawback. Whoa, can you imagine a Pit Lord deck? Oh my god. That would be ridiculous. What else? Any class that has a weapon and druid can utilize this card and take no damage from swinging. So, what was that card that we got for Warrior? Fool's Bane. Imagine dropping this on turn 3 or turn 4 and then smacking into Fool's Bane and taking no damage and swinging 4 times and clearing your opponent's board. That's where I think this card is going to have the most potential. Imagine playing Violet Illusionist in Shaman and Doomhammering like crazy and just clearing minions. And now Doomhammer becomes a weapon to actually clear shit instead of just going fucking face all the time. You know? Imagine this in Rogue and just not taking damage by using your weapon. Right? Imagine this with the Deadly Fork and being able to clear 2-3 health minions and take no damage. I mean, the applications of this card are insane, and I can absolutely see this fitting into any, like I said, any deck that has a weapon, and then also in Druid and also in Warlock. I mean, God, I just wish it was a 3-4. I mean, a 4-3 kind of dies a lot of the time, but man, just dropping this on like turn 6, you know, playing your weapon first and then dropping this card and then clearing stuff. Whoa. Essentially, this card turns every weapon into Glad's Longbow. It becomes the ultimate minion clearer. Can you imagine dropping this and having Gorehowl? You know, one of the reasons that Gorehowl is great, but the problem is you take a lot of damage over the 7 swings that you get with it. If you have Violet Illusionist, holy shit. What the fuck? No damage Gorehowl swings? Wow. I think this card right here is going to be the sleeper hit of One Night in Karazhan. In Constructed, I'm giving this a 10. In Arena, it's not going to be quite as good. It's a 3-mana 4-3. It's going to be much better, like I said, in the weapon classes and the ping classes. But just not taking damage, swinging away, or not taking damage for a tap is going to really enhance all the classes that can utilize this card. In Arena, it's getting an 8. But like I said, there's a chance that you might pick this card just as a 3-mana 4-3, which is already pretty good. But it's not going to have the huge upside that it would have if you're just not an attack class. And so it might be better to pick another 3-drop or another card aside from this, especially if you're in something like Mage or Priest. Yeah. But like I said, this card I love, and I absolutely am going to stick this into my Warrior decks. Absolutely going to stick this into some of my Paladin decks. Absolutely going to stick this into my Warlock and Druid decks. I think it's a fantastic card, and like I said, I think it's going to be the sleeper hit. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching my card review on One Night in Karazhan. Really appreciate it, and please like, please subscribe. Please watch me on Twitch. Hopefully this helps. And I realize it's only a couple more days until Karazhan comes out, so watch the video and enjoy. Thank you so much, guys. Rockstar out.